I want to look at something else here, and now that you have it open, let's see, what is this verse? Hold on. So let's find it on the website. So this is going to be 1 Samuel 16, 8, 9, and 10.
Okay,
So
1 Samuel
16.
Here's
Oh,
16.
that's cool. There it is.
Okay. So we're going to go here. This is
I know,
page
that it's the previous
260.
page. That's 16:8. And that's
I'm sorry.
so this goes up to 16:17, the previous page. And it takes a little bit of time. We're working on making it faster. These are big images. Yeah, the National Library of Israel actually has these images online, but they don't have them indexed by verse number. And I don't think theirs is any faster than ours. So, all right. So without zooming in, you can see at the bottom of the middle column, there's a little bit over 2 lines that have been erased. And what happened here is the scribe made a mistake. He copied an entire verse twice. And then he realized, okay, I've got to erase one of the instances of the verse because the verse appears twice. And he decided to erase the first one. But he left the top half of the letters so that there wouldn't be an extra space in the text. Because when there's a space in the text, like for example, you see on the 3rd line of the 2nd column there, there's a space. That space means, hey, it's the end of this idea, now it's a new idea. Those are called open and closed sections. He didn't want to leave a section marker, a space in the manuscript, so he left the top of the letters. Why is that important? So we know exactly what he erased, because he copied the same verse twice. And one of the things he erased was something that's not supposed to be erased. So zoom in there on the bottom.
All right. So we're zooming
Actually, before you zoom in, go to the next page, the next column rather.
Okay.
And we can read what was erased. So it said Shama, there. Here, let me read it in English. Let me read the standard English translation here. What we have here is the JPS. So this is where God is choosing the person who's choosing the king. He among the sons of Jesse. Verse 7, but the Lord said to Samuel, this is JPS, pay no attention to his appearance or his stature, for I have rejected him, referring to one of David's brothers. For not as man sees does the Lord see. Man sees only what is visible, but the Lord sees into the heart. Then Jesse called Abinadab and had him pass before Samuel, but he said, the Lord has not chosen this one either. Next, Jesse presented Shammah, and again he said, the Lord has not chosen this one either. All right, so it's a series of brothers of David who are being presented. And here it says Shammah, that's the name of the brother. That's the first word in the column. Vayomel gam bazeh lo bachal yud he vav he. Also, this one, Yehovah has not chosen. Okay. Now, that verse was copied twice. And if you go to the bottom of the previous column, we could see the first instance of the verse, which was erased, but the tops were left, but we can still read it. The last word on the 3rd to last column says Vaya'aver, and he caused to pass over. And the next word there is Yishai, which is Jesse. How do I know it's Yishai? Because I see the top of the letters. Shammah, that's the name of David's brother. Okay, then Vayomer, and he said, Gam bazeh, also this. Next line begins lo, he did not, bachar, he chose. And the third word on the line that's been erased is yud, he, vav, he.
Wow.
Yehovah. Now, why is that significant? Because the ancient rabbis established a rule. It's in my PhD dissertation. But that's not where they established it. The ancient rabbis, it's in the Sifrei, which is ancient midrash, and in a bunch of other sources. And it says it is forbidden to erase a single letter of the name of God, Yud He Vav He. And here, not only do they erase a single letter, they erase the entire name, or at least the bottom half of the name. Now, what does that tell us? That tells us beyond a shadow of a doubt that the scribe who corrected this manuscript was not a rabbinical scribe, because no rabbinical scribe would erase Yud He Vav He, not in this instance. There might be special instances and I talk about this in my PhD dissertation, there could potentially be special instances where they would erase it, not here. This had to be a Karaite scribe. It's really inconceivable that a rabbinical scribe would erase the name Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh here. It was explicitly forbidden by what they considered to be a Torah prohibition. Now, the Torah doesn't actually say don't erase God's name. Where this whole thing comes from is that in the ancient world, they would write a name out and then they would erase it, and that was a curse. And we're told, for example, to blot out the name of Amalek. What does it mean to blot out a name? It means take a wet sponge and wipe off the ink. Now, why didn't they take a sponge here? Why did they scratch it off? Because you can only really do that with carbon ink. And this is iron gall ink. And iron gall ink, if you take a sponge, you're going to wipe off some of it, but I'll still be able to read the letters. You're going to leave an impression of the letters because it's very difficult to erase iron gall ink. The way to erase iron gall ink is not with a wet sponge, it's with a razor. You scratch it off, and you can see it's been scratched off vigorously. This is very interesting because here we have, I think, pretty strong evidence that the scribe, or at the very least the proofreader, the corrector, was a Karaite scribe. And by the way, he rewrote he erased a little bit more than he needed to. He erased the following, really the first two words of the verse, the second time it appeared, Vayaver Ishai, and then he had to rewrite those words. Now, why did he do that? I don't know. Seems like a pretty bad mistake to make, but he did make it. Now, it would be really interesting, and we would need a machine called an RTAX, which does X-ray fluorescence. What we need to do is check the ink of Vayaver Ishai using X-rays to see if it's the same ink as all the other words on this page. And if it is, that means it's very likely that the proofreader is the original scribe. Not necessarily, right? The same scribe could use two different inks. It happens all the time. But if it's the same ink, that would point to the likelihood that we're dealing with the same scribe. If it's a different ink, then it very well could be a different scribe. The letters look the same, but the letters are kind of like sloppy, right? I mean, it's written over an eraser. But this is really cool. Here we have incontrovertible evidence that Sassoon Codex was corrected by a Karaite scribe. That's pretty cool. I think it's cool.
We could only find it out by the erasure he made, the mistake, and then the subsequent correction.
All right. Now, the mistake could have been made by a different scribe than the one who corrected it, right? It could have been corrected. First of all, it could have been corrected 400 years after the original mistake, right? We don't know. That's why it's so, that would be so amazing to check it using the X-ray technique, the XRF, X-ray fluorescence. What we would check if we would look at this would be, we would look at the consonants, we would look at the vowels, we would look at the notes of the two Masoretes, Masorete 1 and Masorete 2, and we would look at the Masora Parva, that's the small ones in between the columns, the small notes. And we might find 5 different inks. That doesn't mean there's 5 different scribes, right? One scribe, could, like I said, can use multiple inks. But if they're all the same, that would suggest at the very least it's done in the same city at the same time in the same workshop. In the case of the two Masoretes, we know it's 2 different scribes because they have different handwriting.
Yes.
So this is a test that I would like to perform one day. Hopefully whoever purchases this will facilitate having this test done. Hopefully if you're watching this, whoever has purchased this manuscript, you have a test that can be done here. And we have a bunch more tests that can, you don't want to do just one test, right? You want to do a bunch of tests and see the pattern statistically. That'd be really cool.
And these are the tools you use, Nehemia, to learn more about these manuscripts.
It's incredible. I sometimes think I'm living in this is space age technology. I can't believe this is real. That we're able to do these tests that scholars, not just of previous generations, scholars in this generation couldn't have dreamed of doing this type of test, and now we're doing them. It's absolutely amazing stuff. It's really a blessing to have the opportunity to be involved with this kind of thing.
Yes, and I know, Nehemia, the kind of work that it takes to index this and to make it available. So thank you, and thank you to ihbmr.com for allowing us to study this in real time. This is live, and this was not this was
Pretty
not
cool.
planned. We did
No,
not
that's cool.
we did not plan this
No, that-
out and say let's
Yeah.
see if this works on ihbmr.com. No, I just I wanted the audience to be able to see for themselves that they can look up the very things you're looking up and you're showing us.